Good morning guys, I'm Corey. This is a video in real time of how to make an omelette. So a lot of the times people are making their foods ahead of time. To be honest, whenever meal prepping I try to do as little as possible ahead of time because I just prefer the taste of fresh food. So this is going to be quick and easy. I'm going to show you the way that I do it. You can adopt that, use it as a baseline, make some changes, whatever works for you. But first of all, 2 eggs and a bowl. Pretty simple. If you ever get egg shell stuck inside it, rather than getting a spoon or something, use the shell, scoop it out and away you go. Okay, so from there, this is a little tool that I was conned into buying. It's called a Mr. Whisk. It's very handy. All it does just beats the eggs up. So you can do this with a fork. I like to use Mr. Whisk because it makes me feel like I didn't get conned into a bad purchase. Okay, all done. So from there, garlic. Garlic is a really good prebiotic. Skin's on, get your knife, smash it, cut the rough bit off at the bottom, and then from there, you can peel the skin away quite easily in one go. Cut the little stem off. Now if you're not too savvy with chopping, get yourself a garlic crusher. Open it up, throw it in, crush, and scrape. But if you do prefer to chop it, let's imagine that hasn't been crushed, you want to get your finger against the knife so you don't cut anything off. Doesn't have to be super perfect, scrape it all together. Try have it facing the same direction and then cut against that direction. Hand on top of the knife and just rock back and forwards. Scrape it all together again. Whilst garlic's really nice, no one likes to get massive chunks of it as they go. So we scrape that into the egg mixture. Chili. I happen to like chili. It's definitely something that gives the food a little bit of heat. Again, same chopping principle. Knuckle against the knife, rocking back and forwards. As it gets a bit closer to the end, gets a little more hairy, so we go a bit slower. Chili is facing up and down or vertically, so now I'm going to cut horizontally. Grab together, go over it again. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, just real chopping. So from there, I'm going to add a mushroom. I half it, lay it flat, same technique, knuckle, knife, slice. It's not a race, so you don't need to go too fast. Take it slow, keep your digits where they are, and then as you get used to cutting, you can go a little bit faster. But seeing as this is in the privacy of your own home, and you're not doing it for a bunch of guests at a restaurant who are paying, you don't need to be a Jamie Oliver or a Gordon Ramsay. From there again, grab it together, nice rough chop. One direction, 2, nice and fast, get it all back together. Pretty easy. Okay, now variety is the spice of life. I'm going to be using capsicum, 2 different colors because different colors hold different nutrients. So the more color you can get in your diet from veggies, the better. With me so far? Cool. You can obviously add a few extra bits and pieces here if you really want to. Onions perhaps. I do have a number of spices that we will be adding to the mix. Spices are a great way to keep the palate happy. So more often than not, whenever we're following some sort of meal plan, which usually for body composition in the direction of getting leaner and not fatter, and so that usually tends to mean a limit on nutrients or calories, and so that can just sometimes be a little bit boring. What we'll do now is we'll grab a fork just to mix our solution together. Get it all covered in egg. Now obviously depending on your macros and nutrient calorie intake, you might have a couple eggs, it's a bit easier to mix. I like to use in terms of spices pepper, turmeric, some nice gut and anti-inflammatory properties there. Fun fact, turmeric is more absorbable when you add black pepper. Cayenne pepper, a little bit of spice, some Himalayan rock salt, and then extra virgin olive oil. Now I'll add this to the fry pan. If you want to come over here, then we'll go to the cooker. Okay, so as you can see, we've got our fry pan. It's a nice little size. I'd suggest buying a good quality fry pan. Good quality fry pans generally lead to less use of oils. So we're not going to use too much, roughly a teaspoon, so tiny little splash there. We don't need to let it heat up extensively, just enough so that the oil is able to move around quite freely so we can cover the entire surface of the pan. Now, I add the oil to this pan more for flavor and a few calories. The quality of this pan doesn't actually need any oil, so it's totally up to you. Obviously, the more oil you're using, the more calories there are. It tends to be pure fat. Well, more often than not, it's a lot of fat. Fat's 9 calories per gram, and so a tablespoon of olive oil is usually 120 calories. So it can catch up to you pretty quick. Now just mixing in those spices to the veggies. Pour it in. You can hear a little bit of noise. Okay, we'll get the rest of that out. Now again, I'm only using 2 eggs, so we can actually get away with not having to stir this a great deal because the surface area of the pan is actually quite small, so it's going to cover the egg quite thinly. It's going to cook pretty quick. From here, we'll grab our spatula. This is just going to help us prevent the egg from sticking to the sides. Okay, so all you do is just run it around in a circle. You can hear it cooking away now. Now omelettes are really, really quick cooking. A lot of people will overcook them. So as soon as the egg, as we shake that pan around, stops to move around like jelly so much, then it's time to turn the heat off and flip it half. Okay? A little thing that you can do to add a little bit of flavor is add a little bit of cheese in this part. So what we'll do, grab our fork, just test the consistency here. If it's still really, really runny, feel free to just scrape it around a bit. Spread it out, continues to cook. I usually prefer to use mozzarella in my omelettes, but today we're going to use a little bit of cheddar, just because I have the caloric allowance. Now this is roughly, as you can see, I'm not measuring it. This is real life. I know roughly what 15 grams looks like. I'd say that's roughly about 10 so far. 15 give or take, and that's all we really want. Okay, you can hear it now, it's starting to get quite loud, and you can see that omelette has now no stick. Alright, so if we give the pan a shake, that omelette moves around pretty freely. That's the quality of the pan. If you can't do that, you might need to use more oil. From here, I'm actually going to turn it off, so the omelette's no longer on heat. Slide it down halfway, and then turn it. From there, leave it in the hot pan, 1 to 2 minutes, and it's ready to serve. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If there are any questions, feel free to message me, Corey Miller on Facebook. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.